Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Orbit's Innovation Hub's educational video. My name is Dr. Rodas Tilahun. I'm a manager here at Orbit's Innovation Hub. Today, we're going to discuss about root cause analysis and its approaches. So what is a problem? Let's start with the definition of what a problem is. Gauss and Weinberg in 1989 defined a problem as the difference between the things that were perceived versus the things that are desired. It can also be defined as the gap that exists between the existing states and what is the desired state. So there are many types of problems. Depending on the type of problems, we can broadly categorize it into effectiveness problems, efficiency problems, and responsiveness problems. Effectiveness problems indicates when the system does not deliver the performance we want it to deliver, whereas efficiency problems shows that whilst it might deliver the specific solution, it causes too much resources to be wasted or it's not very efficient. And the last one is a responsiveness issue, where the intervention that we've planned to solve a specific problem doesn't show the amount of responsiveness that we wanted to have, or doesn't solve the problem the way we want it to. So what is a root cause analysis? A root cause analysis is a collection of wide range of approaches and techniques that we can use to try to find the real cause of a specific problem so that we can find an effective solution for said problem. So why do we do it? Is to make sure that our solutions are very efficient. So if we have a very good root cause analysis and we identify the specific and main cause of that problem, then we can find a solution that will be very effective and that can provide the kind of solution we want it to provide. What are the steps to do root cause analysis? Depending on the approach, there are different types of steps, but to overall summarize it, we first utilize different types of data to identify the specific problem. In that we try to find objective measurements that define the problem, and then we apply tools to try to prioritize the problem, which is in most cases when we identify a problem, the root cause of the problems can be potentially many. So we need to prioritize which problems comes first and which problems come last. And we formulate the problem statement, and we formulate an aim statement, as in what do we want, what do we envision for that problem to be solved, and then we'll continue accordingly. So one of the few approaches that we have for today is the event and causal factor analysis, change analysis, barrier analysis, and Kepler-Tregoe problem solving and decision making approaches. When we go to the first one, events and causal factor analysis, we widely use it for major or single incident problems. This process uses evidence gathered quickly and methodically to establish the activities leading up to the incident. So when we do it, we find the root causes of the problem and other major incidents, and that specific major incidents is where we started. So depending on the type of problems, we may have static problems, which is a one-time problem, whereas dynamic problem is an evolving or a changing problem or a continuous problem. The steps that we can use to identify these specific areas are identifying the causal factors. It could be from people, it could be from environment, technology, or policy. And once we identify it, we establish a possible cause, and then we would see or refer if these specific causes are the major or the root causes of the incident that we're trying to prevent. And then depending on that, the ones that have major likelihood that we'll try to prioritize in the first place. The change analysis is for problems that were initially problems to identify in systems where initially the system was working perfectly, but through unknown causes, the system has changed in performance. And so in these particular areas, we need to identify these specific problems that cause the change. So we use it when in situations that are applicable for system performance that has shifted from where it was or from the desired state to the current state. There are three types of situations that can be used. So change analysis uses a reference point that describes what initially needed to be or what was initially there, and then what is currently now. And then we try to solve the problem as to what needs to happen in the future. So we can do this in terms of specific, we'll try to refer if the deviation occurred before the performance or some task or operation that has been performed before. So we use the past experience as a benchmarking experience. If there is another task or operation that is similar to what we're trying to do and is being done elsewhere, we try to benchmark those areas as well. And the third one is a detailed model or simulation of the specific task, so we can identify problem potential areas. So the steps are, first, we identify the problem, identify the changes or impact areas, and then we map the resources that we need to create these changes, and then we prioritize these changes based on the amount of impact that they have on the problem that we're trying to solve. So prioritizing the change events and determining the sequence of business change is the next step that comes along. Behavior analysis is an analysis tool that we can use when we're looking for behavioral changes. So these are usually called or used in behavioral change models. So this technique uses the controls in areas of the process where either we prevent or detect a problem which might have failed. When do we use it? So when we're trying to use behavioral determinants of a particular behavior to use more effective strategies. And the types of barriers can depend on the kind of problems that we're trying to solve. Some problems can be institutional or structural. For example, a company may not necessarily know the specific institutional problems that it has as to the effectiveness of the people that it's hiring. Attitudinal could be related to attitude or perception of the people that work in that situation, especially if we're referring to organizations, for example, gender gap. It could be an attitudinal problem, and physical barriers are actual physical circumstances that prevent a specific intervention from working. So these are the kind of barriers that we'll try to look for as a root cause. So the steps in order to identify them are, the first is to identify the trigger factor. The trigger factor is defined as a trend or a disparity or a normality that suggests that there's a need or an inquiry into a specific policy. It can be from third-party reports or research and surveys. For example, we might try to call to see a specific area, in which case a lot of people are not necessarily benefiting from an intervention or are not necessarily using a specific intervention. And then we identify these barriers. So we try to figure out which these barriers come from, and is it the policies, is it the procedures, the practice, or the conditions? And we determine the formulation needed based on the preliminary data that we have. And we gather and review these informations. And finally, we form a hypothesis. The hypothesis will allow us to see what we think is the potential barrier to a specific problem, and then we try to correlate that, what we assume is the barrier, as to the actual cause of the problem, and then we ask why, and we try to create a testable answer going forward. And the management oversight and risk tree or MORT analysis is one aspect of approach that uses the tree diagram to look at what occurred and what might have occurred. For finalizing, this is used for analyzing specific accident, or alternatively evaluating an existing safety program or accident or incident potential. Kepner-Troge problem solving or decision making is a tool that uses risk assessment and prioritizations that aims to achieve its course of action and outcome with the least negative possible consequences. We use it in organizational decision making. There are several components or processes that go into root cause analysis when it comes to the KT method, which is, the first one is the situational appraisal, the second is problem analysis, the third is decision analysis, and the fourth is potential problem or opportunity analysis. So when we talk about situational analysis helps us sort out priority concerns and avoid working on the wrong issue. What do we do in order to do this? We identify the concerns, we break down the issues into workable pieces, we set priorities and select appropriate people to retire to solve this issue. The problem analysis asks the question, what went wrong, as opposed to situational analysis that asks what is going on. So this helps sharpen the focus the right data, and to help avoid the tendency to jump from wrong cause before relevant factors have been examined. The steps that we can use are describing the problem, identifying and evaluating possible causes, and testing possible causes to find the true causes before corrective actions can be taken. Solution or decision analysis answers the question, what is the best alternative? It helps clarify decision-making roles and responsibilities, sharpens the focus on appropriate performance of objectives for each decision, and provides a clear format for making assessments and recommendation. Some of the steps that we can use are clarifying the purpose, evaluating alternatives, assessing the risks and benefits, and making a decision. The last one is the potential problem or opportunity analysis that assesses what could potentially go wrong. This tool provides a pattern of thinking that enables us to change and improve the future state of work. So the steps that we can use in this particular area are identifying the potential problems or opportunities and likely causes of the problem that we're trying to solve, taking preventive or promoting actions, and planning contingencies or capitalizing actions to make sure that whatever assumptions that we have going forward don't necessarily happen. Thank you very much, and we'll see you with the next session.